What's going on, everyone? So, the Lakers and Darius Garland have been linked since the offseason. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell was as well, but Donovan Mitchell ended up re-signing with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and originally it was reported that Darius Garland, if that were to happen, would immediately demand a trade, that he would request a trade and try to get out. So far, that has not happened. Darius Garland has said that he wants to stay and try to work things out. I imagine that they'll probably try to give it some time, right? Jared Allen was another guy that they were considered trading. There were reports that the Cavs really wanted to trade him, but he's kind of Donovan Mitchell's guy, so they decided not to do that, obviously because you don't want to upset Donovan Mitchell, especially when you're trying to get him on a new contract, trying to get him to re-sign. Last thing you want to do is upset him, and now he's not, and he goes elsewhere, right? Darius Garland, though, if he were to become available, more likely than not, it would happen probably around the trade deadline, maybe even in the offseason, right? Probably more likely in the offseason. The Cavs would probably try to give it throughout the season, unless, disaster strikes for the Cavs and, they're just terrible or a couple key injuries or something, which they dealt with last year, right? So, it depends on how things shape up. Never know. Maybe at the trade deadline, Darius Garland becomes available. But even then, there are several teams that would probably be interested in going after him, including a team like the Spurs that have a ton of assets, and they have Atlanta's picks. They really wanted Darius Garland, and supposedly Darius Garland was the guy that, they wanted more than anybody. Now, they do have Stephon Castle now, so maybe they wouldn't be as interested in Darius Garland anymore. Teams like the Pelicans, they went and got DeJounte Murray. So if Darius Garland becomes available, more likely than not, you're going to hear links to the Lakers. And according to Eric Pincus, he believes that the Lakers, if Darius Garland does become available, that the Lakers are going to go after him. That the Lakers aren't super sold on the 3-star model anymore, just simply because of the new CBA and those restrictions. But Darius Garland is one of those guys that they would kind of make the exception for, probably because of his age, skill set, a guy that can be kind of your foundation piece post LeBron, right? It's kind of a win now move, but also a piece that now you have your point guard for the next, 10 years or whatever, right? That's kind of the idea. That's kind of the vision. Because people also forget, Darius Garland was very good and was looked at as the next rising star point guard before Donovan Mitchell came. And then they're just skill sets don't work. They just kind of clash. Darius Garland has kind of had to adapt and evolve, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? There's games and moments where it looks like the two can coexist, and then particularly in that fourth quarter, right, it becomes kind of the Donovan Mitchell show. I mean, there was a game in the playoffs where Donovan Mitchell scored all 24, I think it was 24, of the Cavs' fourth quarter points. And it wasn't because no one else was on the court or no one else was shooting. He just took all the shots, right? And don't get me wrong, he was hot, he was hitting them, but still, it's share the basketball, right? Type thing. But here's what Eric Pincus had to say verbatim. He said, the Lakers may avoid the 3-star concept, especially given the restrictive new rules and the team's high payroll, which has bottlenecked its flexibility this summer. Still, if Darius Garland becomes available out of Cleveland, the Lakers would probably offer both of their first to the Cavaliers for the young guard. Salary matching would be complex, probably requiring more than one team. So more likely than not, it would probably have to be a 3-team deal if the Lakers were to go after Darius Garland. Now, here's the thing. The Lakers haven't really done anything, and they're going to go into the season, and two things happen. Either A, you're good and you're able to remain patient, and if the right move comes along, boom, you take it, right? Maybe if it doesn't come along, if as long as you're good, okay, just kind of live with it, see what happens. Go into free agency next year, D'Lo's money falls off, you get all these guys' money falling off. LeBron James can restructure his contract, and you're probably going to have a new wave of stars and all kinds of stuff that are going to want to be out. Steph Curry could be potential. Kyrie Irving could even opt out and become a free agency. I don't want to dive into those two as possibilities right now. We'll see what happens in the offseason, but there's options out there, and there's a bunch of just mid-tier free agents that could make a lot of sense for the Lakers to kind of upgrade the roster. So it's always a possibility, especially if you're good. The other side of that coin is the Lakers are terrible, and, it just is not going well, and you get to the trade deadline and it's like, is there really a point in even salvaging this season, right? You get to the trade deadline. I mean, unless obviously if a Darius Garland or somebody like that becomes available, say Kyrie becomes available or something like that, or Steph or something, right? Maybe then the Lakers would go make that move. But more likely than not, you're probably not doing anything, right? So it'll be interesting to see how the Lakers start and how kind of they, truck along. I think if they're kind of like in the middle, right? Like let's say they're the 9th seed, but they're only like a game and a half out of 6th, because you got to think the West is so incredibly tight. It's not that far-fetched to think, that they might be a game or two out of, 6th or 5th or something like that, right? If it's tight and they're close, right? And all of a sudden you can get like Jeremy Grant for, a pick swap or something. I could see them still making that move. But if they're like the 11th seed and it's like we're 5 games out of the 6th seed and, like unless we go on some crazy run, we're a play-in team again. Do you really give up all your assets when you could just wait and see what happens in the offseason? I mean, maybe that's a Lakers plan regardless, right? Is just wait for the offseason. Now, I still have hope and belief that if something becomes available, that they'll do it. I mean, again, Rob Pelinka's made a trade every season he's been in office, except for last season. But that was because that was the run-it-back season, right? And then there were still conversations, and he still was trying to trade for, like, DeJounte Murray and stuff. Just nothing came to fruition. Like, a lot of people act like Rob Pelinka's never made a trade. Like, he literally made a trade every single season he's been in office, right? So it's safe to say that if something's there, he's going to take it. It's just, will something be there and develop? Now, Darius Garland is a guy that I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence with. I know a lot of people, like I've seen kind of, when I've talked about Darius Garland in the past, especially when he was actually linked to the Lakers heavily, kind of this two camps. He's not worth it. He's not much better than D'Lo. He's not worth the, $40 million he's going to be making. And then some people are like, yes, that's your star point guard. That's the guy. Go get him. I think if you can get Darius Garland, I think you get Darius Garland, right? I think if you can get any young star point guard, like even Trey, right? Like I have my concerns about Trey. I worry about the fit, right? And you can make an argument the fit with Darius Garland as well, but it's a move that, again, not only helps you now, but now you got your point guard position locked up in a conference that is stacked with point guards, right? And is a big need in today's NBA, right? Like, so if Darius Garland is available, I think you at least throw your hat in the ring. Now, does that mean you actually get him? Probably not. Like what would the Cavs really want? Like they're probably not going to want Rui because Rui's probably just going to be a backup, right? So Eric Pincus is probably right. You're probably going to need a third team that values, several guys. You're probably giving up both your firsts and then finding another, a team or two that really likes Rui and, maybe D'Lo's expiring contract and have a player that, the Cavs may be interested in, right? I saw it was a while back, probably a couple weeks ago or so. It was something where it was like Darius Garland to the Lakers, like Zach LaVine, I think it was, to like the Bulls. Or to the Cavs, and then like the Bulls got like D'Lo, Rui, and like Gabe Vincent or whatever. Like I could see something like that potentially happening. Maybe not Zach LaVine specifically, right? But like the idea of like, okay, they get somebody that maybe where you just have Donovan Mitchell be the point guard, right, and let him kind of make the plays and dictate things and stuff like that, and then go get a 3-and-D 2 guard or something like that, whatever, right? Like that's always a possibility. If the Spurs, like if Darius Garland becomes available and the Spurs throw their hat in the ring, he's a Spur. He is. The Spurs just have way too much talent, way too much assets. Again, they have Atlanta's pick, their own pick. I mean, they could stumble into the number 1 pick in the draft this year, right? So, it begs the question of like, what's the competition look like? And then also what are they willing to offer up, right? A team like the Spurs, again, they have Colin Castleton. Or not Colin Castleton. They have Stephon Castle, right? And he's supposed to be their point guard of the future. That's why they draft him. But he's also 6'6", So he could be your 2, he could be your 3, he could be whatever. And they were like super high on Darius Garland. So I think it really boils down. But look, it's the Lakers. I know like the 3-team or the 3-star motto doesn't work anymore because CBA and all that stuff. It does. Right? I know people like look at the Sun, like look at what the Suns are doing. Like, yeah, like the Suns have 3 guys that are essentially the same player. Look at all the big 3s that have worked throughout history. They've all been different skill sets and different positions. Right? Like, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, right? Like, you got a 2, a 3, and a 4. Or a guy that can play and shift over to the 4 or the 5 or the 3. Like, you got guys that can play multiple positions. Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, LeBron James, right? 3 guys that play different positions. Kyrie, Kevin Love, LeBron James. Again, 3 guys that play different positions. 3 guys that have different skill sets, right? Like, you kind of go down, like, look at, like, the Lakers. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, yes. Russell Westbrook, no. Because he plays different position, but he doesn't have a complementary skill set. He doesn't have a different skill set, right? Like, him and LeBron are too similar. It just doesn't work, right? Like, you got to have guys that complement each other, right? Like, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal are essentially the same player, just at different scales. But neither are good enough playmakers to slide over to the point, and neither of them are big enough to slide over to the 3. And then Kevin Durant is like an upgraded version of those 2, right? So you got 3 guys that are 2 of which are, again, basically the same player. And that's why it's clunky. It's a lot of you go, I go, you go, I go. But if you got something like Kyrie, LeBron, and Anthony Davis are good enough and complement each other enough to win a championship, right? Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis are good enough and complement each other enough to win a championship, right? Like, obviously, again, there's concerns about the debt stuff. You go into the second apron if you have to. Right? Who cares? You have your team. Like, you have your team between those 3 guys. Especially if you win a championship, who cares? Right? Like, so it depends. Depends on how it plays out. But if Darius Garland's there, I agree with Eric Pincus. I think Lakers are going to at least throw their hat in the ring. They're going to at least try. They're going to at least make the effort and the attempt. But as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, hey, if he's available, you go and get Darius Garland? Do you think, like, nah, stay as far away from Darius Garland as possible? Yeah, however you feel. Whatever your thoughts are, I love to hear it. Whether you like them or not, I kind of know that the comments are probably going to be a little split because they usually are, but I love to hear it. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.